I spent the week leading up to Halloween doing a bunch of spooky themed shiny hunting in Pokemon Shield and Pokemon Legends Arceus. Here's how it went. Oh hey, you watching this video? Now I know what you might be thinking. But James, wasn't Halloween like a month and a half ago? In fact, it was. That is very observant of you. I mean, you can see I even have my Christmas lights hung up by now. That's how late this video is. But after I streamed this whole challenge, I was busy working on another big video that dropped last month where I caught a Pokemon of every single type as a shiny in Pokemon Violet. Check that out. Please do that. It's going to be in the top right corner of your screen and at the end of the video, so you can come back and watch this later or watch that after this. That would be fantastic. But basically, I could give you like this whole exhaustive list of reasons and like excuses as to why this video is late, but I'll go with this. I'm sorry that this video took so long to get out, but thank you for your patience, and I hope you enjoyed your Halloween and Day of the Dead and Veterans Day. Thanksgiving was also during this time before the video came out, so I hope if you celebrated, you enjoyed all of those holidays. And with that, let's get into the actual video that you've been waiting for like a month and a half. So thank you again for your patience and enjoy the video. I wanted to start off the week with the most fitting Halloween Pokemon that I could think of. Pumpkaboo. Not only is this a great shiny, but it fits the theme of this video so perfectly that it didn't seem like I could start with anything else. And I decided to take on that task in Pokemon Shield. Pumpkaboo is super abundant, and with the Pokemon Scene method, I'm sure there's probably a better name for it, this felt like it should be a relatively painless hunt. Add that to the fact that I basically haven't played Shield in a year, and I was ready for whatever this hunt had to throw at me. The plan for this was really simple. Just knock out every Pumpkaboo I saw until I reached 500 Scene in the Pokedex. This would give me the best possible odds of encountering a shiny at 1 in 455 once I had seen 500 of them, and since I have the shiny charm, it helped my odds even more. Considering that I had only seen 26 Pumpkaboo before I started stream, I knew this was going to take some work. But with a full team of fire types built to one-shot any pumpkin in sight, it was pretty easy to fall into a rhythm. The biggest thing was just tracking Pumpkaboo down across the wild area right outside of Hammerlock. I really got locked in and went from Pumpkaboo to Pumpkaboo, leaving a pile of burnt pumpkins in my path. And as I got more knockouts, the odds only continued to improve. Once I crossed 50 Scene, the odds became 1 in 819. And past 100 Scene, they were now 1 in 683. Keep in mind that both of these are boosted due to the fact that I do have the shiny charm in this game, but I was starting to feel confident that we would see this Pokemon soon. They're mostly just made for kids, so they're not using like a huge knife. Oh, let's go! Shiny pumpkin! Woo! Let's go, chat! 115 encounters. We have 2, and it matches the color scheme. That's all I'm saying. This one is small. This one is fine. The size of this one's fine. There's nothing wrong with this pumpkin, chat. There we go. Shiny pumpkin in roughly 115. At only 115 encounters, this went by super quickly, and I was so happy with how easy this hunt was. But it also meant that it was time for me to reveal a little secret. The only time that I ever hunted with this method was years ago, and it took me almost 2,000 encounters to find a shiny Sandygast. And to avoid a disaster like that from happening on stream, I decided to do some off-camera grinding in order to boost my odds for finding one during stream. I wanted to knock out a few hundred encounters to get those odds up a bit, but literally my second encounter doing this, I found a shiny Pumpkaboo off camera. I managed to grab this clip from the Switch, and I know that my dex says I have seen 6, but 5 of those were from just completing the dex and randomly battling people throughout the game, so you're just gonna have to trust me on this one. But with my second shiny Pumpkaboo now caught, it was a great time to move on to the next spooky shiny. The second shiny hunt I had in mind for this week was a shiny Pokemon I have wanted for quite a long time. But I do want a shiny Spiritomb in some game. It's just, Spiritomb's another fantastic shiny. It's so cool. I've wanted a shiny hunt Spiritomb for a while now, and I figured this was the perfect opportunity to do it. It fits the spooky theme perfectly, and you can actually get pretty good shiny odds on it in Pokemon Legends Arceus. With the shiny charm and a perfect dex entry, your odds of finding a shiny Spiritomb in a massive mass outbreak are 1 in 216. And considering they spawn in groups of 8 or more, it was probably the best way to find a shiny Spiritomb. Like Pumpkaboo, I did do some off-camera grinding to prepare. This time around though, I did not find the shiny beforehand, so I was going to need to put in some real work. But during that time, I did complete all the dex tasks for Spiritomb in order to perfect the entry and get those best odds. And with that, I was ready to go when I switched over to Legends Arceus and begin the hunt for the shiny portal. The best method I found for spawning in outbreaks in this game is to literally just fly back and forth between areas and wait for a massive mass outbreak to occur in the Crimson Mirelands, which is the only place that outbreaks can occur for Spiritomb. I would just save in front of Munchlax to preserve my berries if there wasn't a Spiritomb outbreak, which I found really helpful considering that I only really had about 40 Aguav berries before I started this. So I just spent the rest of stream flying to and from the Crimson Mirelands and catching the occasional group of Spiritomb. And while I didn't find the shiny, I wasn't too discouraged, and I still had a shiny pumpkin to show for my efforts on the first day. The previous day of shiny hunting for Spiritomb had taught me two things so far. One, Spiritomb outbreaks were a lot less common than I remember, and two, Spiritomb is a pain in the ass to catch. Even with the limited number of Spiritomb encounters from the previous day, it was clear to me that catching Spiritomb would be no easy task. No amount of stealth spray, smoke bombs, sticky globs, or leaden balls seemed to make any difference, so it took all of my strength to get through these outbreaks without dying to the massive Spiritomb. While I continued to reset, I found that I would often hit streaks of 15 or even 20 minutes that would go by without a Spiritomb outbreak, which was, unfortunately for me, only a precursor to some of the extended periods I would encounter without a Spiritomb outbreak. I know most of this sounds like complaining, and it pretty much is, but on the bright side, I did manage to find quite a few more Spiritomb this stream than the last one. With that said, I didn't find anything that I was looking for, and with 202 total Spiritomb seen, I called it a day. The next stream started off with a close benchmark in mind, and that was to reach odds. As previously mentioned, the odds of finding a shiny in a massive mass outbreak with the dex entry perfected and the shiny charm, that was a lot to say, are 1 in 216. So with 202 encounters already done, the first thing to do is reach 216 and then boast about how unlucky I am for not finding this one under odds. From there, I just continued to rack up encounters as I found them. But do you remember when I said yesterday that I would have these long periods of time without a Spiritomb encounter? Yeah, that happened again today, and this time it was even worse. So much worse, in fact, that the chat and I started coming up with all the places that Spiritomb could be. The first of which was on an exotic vacation to the beaches of the, quote, Southern Islands. With its feet, with its foot, with its base in the sand, and a drink in its hand. What I'm getting at is that Spiritomb was on vacation on the beach and decided to just not show up in an outbreak for about 45 minutes. And once it finally returned from vacation, it still didn't shine. And after a few more outbreaks, what do you know, it went right back to being on vacation. This Spiritomb is just quite the jet setter, I guess. This time around, Spiritomb headed for the mountains, opting for a nice ski vacation. And after about another 45 minutes of shredding the slopes, it returned once more for a few more outbreaks. All jokes aside, I did manage to rack up about another 180 encounters over the course of this 4-hour stream, but with double odds nearly approaching, I was still wondering when shiny Spiritomb would finally arrive. Starting out on day 4, I was feeling pretty good. I was refreshed, and with the total nearing double odds, I knew that we had to be close to a Spiritomb. And one of the first massive mass outbreaks of the day featured Spiritomb, which I took as a sign of good luck. While there was no shiny in this first outbreak, I feel like I had a good day of progress ahead of me. And then the devastation started. Spiritomb simply packed its bags and left. Like, actually, for the next hour, I did not find a single massive mass outbreak of Spiritomb. I don't understand, chat. I literally don't get it. I just don't get it anymore. I cannot find an outbreak of Spiritomb. I don't know what it is. It got so bad, in fact, that I told my chat if we didn't find it in about another hour, I was just going to pause this hunt and go look for something else. And after an hour and 10 minutes from the last shiny Spiritomb outbreak, I found another one. And as a little treat, this outbreak had a second round of alphas. And with this second round of alphas guaranteed, and a fear that I would never see an outbreak of this thing ever again, it was time for a little bit of trickery. While I'm not gonna hack or anything, I did have a little something up my sleeve. I recently learned that you can re-roll your chance for a shiny Pokemon in the second wave of an outbreak depending on how you deal with the first horde. So based on how many Pokemon you either catch or knock out, and in what order you do that, the game will generate different values for the second horde, including their shiny values, which means I can keep changing how I defeat the first horde to get additional chances for a shiny without having to keep resetting for new Spiritomb outbreaks. For instance, the first time I just caught all 8 Spiritomb that were in the first wave, and since no Pokemon in the second wave were shiny, I reset. The next time around, I knocked out 2 Spiritomb and then caught the remaining 6. And the idea for this method is that you cycle through these different variations of catching and knocking out to potentially get different results for your second horde. I'm also going to link a video and a website I used down in the description if you want to learn more about this method, because that was essentially the TLDR version of this, and there's a lot more complex stuff that can go into it. But with the basic explanation out of the way, let's get back into it. I started by just catching everything, checking all the encounters in the second horde, and after seeing nothing, I reset. Since this method only changes the second horde's shiny values, the first horde will always stay the same, meaning that we will never see a shiny Pokemon in that first horde, and I only counted the second horde as new encounters, which is why the counter on screen is going up a little bit more slowly. I tried 3 different permutations without finding anything else, and I plan on only doing a couple more of these because I do find this method less fun to watch. Add Subway Surfers gameplay. Let me see if I can find some. I just need to crop this for a second. Work with me here, chat. Work with me. But after knocking out 3 Spiritomb and catching the remaining 5, the moment I had waited for arrived at last. Chat, it worked! It worked! Oh my god! Oh my god, the Subway Surfers gameplay worked! Oh my god! Chat. Spiritomb is a zoomer. Spiritomb is a zoomer that needs Subway Surfers gameplay. Oh my god, it's over. It's over, chat. It's finally over. Oh my god. Chat, it's finally done. It just needed Subway Surfers. I was thrilled to finally see this Pokemon shine, and it was incredible to get an alpha Pokemon after all of that. But best of all, it meant that I could switch games again. So I headed back over to a different save of Pokemon Shield where I had the shiny charm but hadn't played through the Crown Tundra yet. With this, I could go through Dynamax Adventures to hunt for legendary Pokemon. And in this particular case, I felt that Giratina would be the perfect spooky legendary to hunt for. Well, Dynamax Adventures do take a while to complete. The 1 in 100 odds of a shiny once you have the shiny charm are practically unbeatable when it comes to hunting for legendaries. So with Giratina noted in my adventures, it was time to start looking. The first 3 encounters of Dynamax Adventures always go pretty smoothly, give or take some NPC blunders, but the Giratina battle is always a bit dicey. And I quickly learned that even with 4 lives, victory is not always a guarantee. But in this case, it was easy enough and fast enough to just back out and start over, and even so, I still got the opportunity to see if other Pokemon I caught along the way were shiny. While I only managed to capture Giratina 3 times during the remainder of this stream, I managed to find something pretty cool right before I ended. Our last batch of the day, not shiny. That's one shiny right there, chat. Let's go. Last of the day too. Hell yeah. Finding shiny Piloswine felt like the perfect way to end stream, so I decided to pick it back up on the next day. After getting a shiny already in the Dynamax Adventures, I was eager to get back to work searching for Giratina. Now that I knew I could reset to keep the same path, I was keeping an eye out for the best path possible. That would include either Pokemon that were great at taking down Giratina or Pokemon with cool shinies that I might be able to phase with. I ended up finding a combination of both, a path that included Cofagrigus, Dunsparce, and Morpeko. After finding no shinies the first time around, I reset and ran it back with this group. I skipped grabbing a Pokemon from the Scientist, which was a departure from the last time, causing all the NPCs to abandon their game plan that had worked so well before. But miraculously, with this ragtag team, we managed to pull together and get the W, but I was met with an even bigger surprise after that. So responding with "some people just have it" is so fun. Oh my god! Oh my god! Shiny Cofagrigus. You want to say some people just have it? You're looking at him. Oh my goodness. Let's go, chat. I was shocked after finding this and so hyped now having phased with 2 really cool shinies only about 20 dens in. This was the motivation that I needed to keep pushing through and grinding out dens for the rest of stream, but unfortunately none were as exciting as this one. I did manage to defeat Giratina about 5 more times before ending the day of streaming, bringing my grand total to 13 before the next stream. While I would like to act like this day was super exciting and contained a lot of cool moments, this was by far the roughest Dynamax Adventure stream yet. During the whole 3-hour stream, I only managed to defeat 4 Giratina that entire time. I just couldn't find a great combination of Pokemon to use, and I was continually struggling to hit Giratina for decent damage or just keep my team alive long enough to even stand a chance. So this day was pretty boring, and we're just going to move on to the next one. After a rather unsuccessful stream the previous day, I was ready for things to turn around. I went into the stream looking for the best possible routes I could find, and I just kept resetting as soon as I found one that worked. And after a few failed adventures to start the day, I found a path that worked really well and just stuck to it. After my disastrous past stream, I knew that I had to hold on to this as long as I could. I managed to get through the Giratina battle 3 more times, and on the last attempt, got a bit of a surprise. In no way, really benefited me. That's shiny. Hold up. I was just complaining, but that's shiny. So that's super hype. But please. Okay, it's not. But Abomasnow is shiny. This marked the third phase of the hunt and yet another shiny that I wasn't quite looking for. I can't say I'm upset that I found it, but it meant that I had to venture onto new paths. While I was nervous to leave this route behind because it had worked so well, it turned out to be for the best. Shortly after, I managed to find what I would consider the best path yet, leading to 7 straight wins to close out the stream. The only issue with all of these resets is the scientist slowly gets angry at you for ditching your teammates and makes you pay bribes to continue going back into that den. But after a big win streak and a new shiny added to the squad, it was time to call it for the day and return for the final day of this challenge. On the final day of this challenge, I had high hopes for Giratina to shine in honor of it being Halloween. I picked back up on the route that I had found the previous day and continued to breeze through it in the ensuing Giratina fight with ease. After 3 more successful raids, this route came to an end, but for a great reason. That looks shiny to me, I think. It is! Okay! There we go. We got at least one. We're back, chat. We are so back. Shiny Jinx. It's very, very subtle. Really, it could only tell based on the difference between that and the sprite. But please, I will throw this away in an instant for shiny Giratina. But after a very successful run of like 11 wins on this route, it finally comes to an end. So we can claim our shiny Jinx. Yet another shiny Pokemon to phase with, and bringing the total to 4 shinies that I found while searching for Giratina so far. While Jinx is by no means my favorite shiny I've seen, it felt wrong to let it go by, so I added it to the party and I moved on. This also meant that I would no longer have to fork over my precious Dynite ore to the scientist each time I wanted to go back into the Dynamax adventures. But it also meant that I would have to forge a new path through to Giratina, and one that was far less calculated than the previous. After finding shiny Jinx, I really struggled finding a consistent team to beat Giratina. While I had the odd success here or there, I continued to shuffle the team members and strategies in hopes of finding greener pastures. But time and time again, I found myself failing right on the brink of success. I continued to battle my way through, but after another 2.5 hours, I had only beat 4 more dens, and I knew that the end of stream was approaching. While it wasn't the way I had hoped it would end, I decided to call it after 35 total successful Giratina Dynamax adventures. But I don't think this is the last I'll see of this Pokemon. I had a ton of fun hunting it and managed to find a bunch of other shinies along the way, so if enough people want me to continue this hunt, I'd be happy to pick it back up for a follow-up video. But for now, Giratina returns to the Distortion world. If you made it this far, I want to say thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed the Halloween or Day of the Dead festivities if you celebrated this year. I had a ton of fun streaming this challenge and making this video, and I certainly want to do more themed hunts like this in the future. So if you have any ideas, let me know in the comments below. Also, all of this challenge was streamed over on my Twitch channel at I'mJamesLive_, where I stream a ton of different games and challenges, and if you like my content here, I think you'd really enjoy it live. Aside from that, be sure to subscribe to the channel and keep up with all my future uploads, and see the YouTube shorts that I post daily. With that, I'll thank you again for watching this video, and I'll see you all soon in the next one.